Lives taken, several others seriously hurt. Representing that district is California State Assemblywoman Christy Smith, represents the Santa Clarita Valley, and you were there just the other day. In fact, the day it happened.
I was.
Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you, Conan.
What's your reaction to what we saw on Thursday?
It struck fear and horror in all of our hearts, but as we do as a community, immediately got to work and responded to the scene, to campus, and coming together as a community to rally around the victim.
Sheriff's Department says the lack of further loss of life was a response by the student body and the training that they had gone
Absolutely.
through. And that's been fundamental.
Absolutely. In partnership with the LA Sheriff's Department, who have been phenomenal about training all of our local schools, staff and students alike, to what to do in these incidents. These students really kept it together, rallied around each other, and did absolutely all the right things in waiting for law enforcement to respond.
I've seen that you have helped out in certain communities on a completely different topic when there have been the public safety power shutoffs.
Sure.
Your office providing generators, for example. I remember in Ogwood Dulce when you did that. What can a state legislator do in a case like what happened at Saugus?
You know, the best a state legislator can do in those moments in a real emergency and a trauma is to be on scene and be there to gather resources. You know, there are people on scene who have their roles to play, first responders and administrative teams, and what we can offer is just picking up the phone and being able to mobilize anything additional that's needed in order to be supportive.
In terms of legislation, there's been critical assessment of the tech industry and social media companies. Does this add to the concern if indeed there's any kind of nexus between and we don't know that quite right now?
I think so. First of all, from the perspective of privacy and the amount of privacy that our young people should be afforded. It's a space that's hard enough for adults to navigate, let alone these young people who really don't understand necessarily all the parameters in which they should be engaging in that space. But the other thing I will tell you as a parent and as a former school board member is when we're not linking that to critical developmental support for our young people as well as mental health help, support, and services, we are putting them in a really high-risk, toxic environment these days. The environment of social media is harmful to kids when not balanced appropriately with other measures around them. And in this young man's instance, I mean, it's heartbreaking that he had greater access to a weapon than he had to mental health help and support, which might have helped him at this critical time.
We should point out that you were an analyst at one point for the U.S. Department of Education. You were on a school board 2 terms, New Hall School District. So education's sort of in your wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
Would you be interested to see whether or not there were avenues for this individual, the perpetrator, to seek help, or for others around him to go and talk to counselors about him in a third party?
Absolutely, and I can say unequivocally that this district, the Heart District that Saugus is a part of, has very rapidly moved in that direction. They are establishing health and well-being centers on every single campus that are staffed, but what we need at every high school now is a full-time mental health professional. You know, they were staffed with counselors who are intended to help with any range of services, you know, from college preparation to individual, you know, disputes on campus. But when someone is suffering the amount of trauma and significant mental health issues that clearly this young man was, that means a dedicated full-time professional. And unfortunately on our campuses these days we're seeing more and more of that. We have trauma-informed children coming into our classrooms, into our schools, and we need to step up in providing them the support they need. And
finally, you've announced for your candidacy for Katie Hill's seat in the Northern LA County District. Did the Democratic Party come to you and say, listen, this is the Congresswoman's going to have to leave or is decided to leave, we want you to run?
I stepped up because, as we've talked about, for 11 years now I've been serving this community as an elected representative, and I know what it takes to meet the needs of the distinct and individual 4 valleys that are a part of the 25th Congressional District. Serving 60% of the district now in my assembly seat, I thought I was uniquely poised to continue that service and just extend it at the D.C. level.
The election announced, it's going to be, again,
March 3rd.
Christy Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.
California State Assembly.